Wide Angle Conversations, an initiative of Life by Design. Because stories are powerful, capable of igniting change and enabling success in others. This is Season 4, and I am your host, Taruna Aggarwal. My guest today is Kevin Khan. Kevin is a professional coach and a business leader with over 30 years of experience in global and multinational organizations. Kevin is a regular panelist and speaker at conferences, and he has contributed to magazines like Forbes, HR Magazine, and Marketing Magazine. Hi, Kevin. Welcome to Wide Angle Conversations.
Hi, Taruna. Thank you for having me. Great to be here.
It's great to have you here.
Thanks.
Kevin, you are passionate about making people, reach out to their full potential. And at the same time, you are working towards making the workplace an equitable and fair place for all. What makes this cause important to you?
Well, I think I've been in a minority situation before, and that helps me have affinity and be able to relate to the challenges that people are facing now. So in the organizations that I've been in, I've seen cases where foreign talent were flown in to take senior roles, and there were local talent that were termed high potential, and they were bypassed. So I thought that was a little bit unfair. So where's the opportunity for the local talent that we have, the Asians that are local here? Where are there opportunities to step into these senior executive leadership positions?
But over the years, as you see with your 30 years of experience, do you think things have shifted now? Is there a change?
Definitely. I think there's massive improvement that has happened since the time I went through the ranks. There are a lot more Asians now in senior executive roles in multinational organizations, which is wonderful to see. There are still some exceptions, though. There are still some large multinationals that have executives flown out from the US, from the UK. And sometimes people wonder, so 30 years have passed. Don't we have locals or Asians that are capable enough to do those roles? We're spending a lot of money sending some of these executives over to be here for 3, 4, 5 years, and then they rotate out again. So sometimes you have to ask, where's the wisdom in terms of that? But also, where's the opportunity again for these locals or Asians in order to be cycled through as a part of the high potential talent?
Right. So things have changed. A lot has moved, as you're saying, but still there is lots that needs to be done.
I think there is a lot of changes now in diversity and inclusion, which now includes equity. So it's not just gender, it's not just about women, and it's not just about underrepresented groups. It's also now about ageism, especially with COVID. Ageism is now into the forefront. And also for Asia, it's about the disabled people as well. How do we integrate them into the workforce? So it's now, diversity and inclusion is now much wider. It's not just about women, it's about minorities as well.
That's right. It is. It should be, anyway, it should be encompassing all. That we are diverse, the world is diverse, but still lots needs to be done for really the inclusion of people and the belonging, that sense of belonging that people should have. So Kevin, what do you think needs to be done as a senior leader, or your role as leaders who can make that change or who can bring about the change?
So good leaders, I really believe, will step up and be mentors or sponsors to candidates, whether it's women, people of color, disabled. They will mentor them, like help guide them, get new experiences, tell them about why don't you stretch yourself and do stretch assignments, get experiences in different business units, like just encourage them to be open to new opportunities so that they can broaden their network within the organization so that people can see their capabilities and talent. Then secondly, a good leader will use their position to help sponsor these high potential candidates, regardless of gender or ability. I think the thing that's important about sponsorship is. It's not just when a role is open.
Hmm.
Sponsorship is about having a conversation with HR so that HR keeps in mind about potential candidates matching with open opportunities, open positions.
Mhm.
But also, when you have that high potential review each year or every half year, to talk about those candidates with other senior executives and leaders so that they know that there are people ready and waiting to step up and move into these new executive roles.
That's right. So for people to be aware of,
Hmm.
the high potential candidates,
Correct.
leaders have an important role to play in that.
Correct.
I remember in an earlier conversation when we were talking about, the gender equity, you had
Hmm.
mentioned that men should be a part of the conversations, right? What is the role of men as you envisage it in those conversations?
Well, I think one of the things that gave me a big shock is whenever there are panel discussions
Hmm.
on advancing women's careers and career management, that many of these panels don't have men on them. And
Hmm.
I think that's a missed opportunity because it's about changing the mindset,
Yeah.
but also encouraging success stories to be told. So, the other thing that's important is for men to take an active participation in conversations, one on one or in groups,
Mm-hmm.
to sponsor the advancement of women, changing policies from a HR perspective,
Hmm.
having a look at the ability to provide longer maternity leave, the ability to have succession planning so
Right.
that when people fall ill or take the maternity leave or leave without pay, that there are opportunities for other people to step into those temporary roles.
Hmm.
And that also expands people's ability to gain new experiences
Right.
as well as to build new networks as well.
Wonderful. So what I'm hearing is that to move the needle, actually, really, we need to have systemic view.
Hmm.
We have to have the leaders involved in it and the individual. At
Correct.
those three levels, we really need to work
Correct.
on those. There's male allyship and men as allies for
Hmm.
women really coming into the fore right now. But mentoring, as we know, is basically, as coaches, we are told and we know, is maybe not a equal partnership.
Hmm.
What do you have to say about that?
Well, it depends on the relationship that the mentor or coach has with the mentee or the client.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's important that when you establish that relationship, that you're clear on what the goals are for that mentorship or that coaching relationship.
Yeah.
So it can be an equal, it can be a session where the mentee or the client will ask for advice, or it could be about, okay, I have this situation at work.
Mm-hmm.
How did you resolve it in your situation when you were in my area? So it's important for people to be very clear how that relationship is going to work so that you can get the most out of it as well.
Hmm.
I think um, as a mentee or a client, you shouldn't be afraid to ask for the help that you need.
Now with COVID, work from home, and the conversations that we are having within us as well about what really is important for us and what should we prioritize on.
Mhm.
How do you think that will impact the future of work?
Well, I think the future of work is here now, right now. With many countries around the world still in lockdown and having to work from home, I think the future of work has to involve and include flexible work arrangements.
Absolutely.
One of the research studies that have come out that has shown that with people working from home,
Hmm.
there is a lot more hours being worked. So people are working longer than the normal 40 hours.
That's right.
And I think it's important to realize that, hey, look, people are juggling family,
Mm.
people are juggling work, people are juggling relationships at home whilst being locked down,
Yes,
and they're still doing so much more work.
it's true.
So, does that mean that we have to be in the office 5 days a week? I think COVID has proven that we don't need to be.
Mm.
And that raises the question, do we have a look at a 4-day working week? Do we allow people to be able to work from home 3 days a week and come into the office 2 days a week?
Yeah.
So there's a lot more flexibility that can be built into many organizations. And that will help women, especially for those that are trying to juggle family as well
Mm.
as a career. And for the family units, for those that have elderly parents that they're also looking after at home as well, it gives them the flexibility in order to juggle family life as well as their work life as well.
Right. And I think all of us are getting used to that work from home.
Yes.
And it's not just the women. I think it will also impact, it's also impacting men. They're also getting used to that fact. And also there would be more shared responsibility, I believe, at home then.
Correct.
Right.
And I think COVID has given people the time to be with family, something that we haven't had in a very, very long time. And like I used to travel weekly, and COVID has just like, I've been home for a year. So I think that changes the dynamics and it brings people back to having a look at what's really important for them.
Exactly.
And it also highlights that sometimes that women have to juggle a lot more than men. And now men actually see, okay, we have to look after the kids. I have to get onto a conference call. I have to help the kids with the homework. I have to go do a team meeting. Well, the men get to experience that now too.
And then there's more appreciation of the fact that will then translate to the workplace also as men. Right, wonderful. And lastly, what would be your hope for the world with respect to diversity and inclusion?
Well, I think with COVID, it's highlighted in some countries that there have been some racial attacks against Asians. I'm just waiting for humanity to show up. I think it's important that for there to be diversity, equity, and inclusion, that we accept people for who they are and what they bring to the table and not for their gender, the color of their skin.
Right. I love what you said, that you're waiting for humanity to show up. Well, thank you so much, Kevin. That was a very insightful and powerful conversation with lots of things to take from.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. It's been wonderful to be speaking with you.
Thank you. That was Kevin Khan sharing with us his views on equity at the workplace. We'll see you next week for another meaningful conversation. See you then.